So many people ask me, how can you call yourself a libertarian and still support Israel? Well, every decent human being supports Israel, regardless if he is a libertarian, a socialist, a conservative, or whatever. Because in a conflict between a civilized man and a savage, you always support the civilized man. And it not only pertains to supporting Israel in its wars with its aggressive, savage neighbors, Arab dictatorships, Islamic terrorist groups like Hamas or Hezbollah. It also pertains to supporting Israel as an organized society. There's no violation of libertarian principles by giving support to Israel, which is a free society. This is the main difference between Israel and its neighbors. This is the main difference between, for instance, Ukraine or Taiwan and its neighbors, Russia and Communist China. Israel, Ukraine, Taiwan are free societies organized in a democratic state. Of course, as libertarians, we are quite skeptical of these democratic states, but we have to be honest and say that democracies are much better than dictatorships, aren't they? Liberal democracies with parliamentary rule, with rule of law and protection of individual rights, which all these countries, Israel, Ukraine, Taiwan, or France, Belgium, Sweden, United States, they all protect individual rights to a large extent. They are imperfect because no country is perfect, but they are much better at protecting individual rights than, let's say, Iran, Lebanon, Turkey, Communist China, or Putinist Russia, or any territory under the terror rule of Hamas or Hezbollah. So as you can see, as a libertarian, you can support Israel and Ukraine and not contradict yourself. But you have to realize there are libertarians, especially the Harper Mafia, as I call them, who are so intellectually dishonest that they do not distinguish between free societies organized in democratic states and unfree societies, which are ruled by dictators or autocrats. Such people as Hans Hermann Hoppe, a disgusting human being, they call, for instance, the democratic Ukrainian government a regime, a Zelensky regime, while they have little problem with the actual regime which started an aggressive war against Ukraine, that is, Putinist regime. Completely cruel, dysfunctional oligarchy of Russia. Such libertarians, the paleo-libertarians of the Harper Mafia, they really seem to care more about the welfare of Russia than the welfare of Ukrainians getting slaughtered by savage Russian hordes. And similarly, they seem to care more about Palestinians who have been pursuing terrorism since at least 1960s than about Israelis who suffer from terrorism and who did nothing wrong. Yes, you heard me right. Israel did nothing wrong. Well, the only wrong thing Israel did was to not destroy Hamas, for instance, in 2007, when it took over Gaza Strip and started shooting rockets into Israel. Israel fought a short war called Operation Cast Lead in 2008-2009, but did not manage to eliminate Hamas, and this obviously produced a domino effect in which Hamas only grew stronger and stronger until it attacked Israel on the October 7th, 2023. And Israel could have avoided all of that if it crushed Hamas in 2009, completely crushed Hamas and decimated Gaza Strip. But obviously, Israel, because it's a exactly liberal democratic country, could not push through and ignore public opinion, both domestic and international public opinion, which cried havoc that Israel is committing war crimes in Gaza in 2009. Remember? It's all the same thing, that Israel trying to defend itself against terrorism somehow commits war crimes, but Hamas, cruel, savage Islamic terrorist organization, somehow does not commit war crimes by surrounding itself with civilians and using civilian infrastructure for launching attacks against Israel. Then Hamas is not a war criminal organization, but Israel somehow is by defending itself and its citizens against the cruel Hamas attacks. So there's so much confusion about Israel, about being libertarian means, what is civilization, what is the proper approach to conflict. So I recommend reading 2 books. First, Winning the Unwinnable War, edited by Elon Journal. And the second book is Nothing Less Than Victory by John D. Lewis, a historian, in which he analyzes historical conflicts and how they were properly ended by the attacked side. The attacked side, the side which defends itself against aggression, should unequivocally destroy the aggressor, crush the aggressor, drop him on his knees, humiliate him, and force him into unconditional surrender. This is what the civilized world did in 1945 with Imperial Japan and Nazi Germany. Crush them, totally humiliate the ideology behind Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan, show its impotence against the civilized liberal democracies, against free societies, demonstrate that free society is always better and will always defeat evil authoritarian regimes, and force unconditional surrender, especially like with Imperial Japan, by writing a new constitution for the new democratic Japan and forcing Japanese to accept it. This is the way. This is the way of the liberal democracy. This is the way that libertarians should embrace if they want to remain relevant. Well, they never were relevant, but now with President Javier Milei being the president of Argentina, libertarianism may be relevant, but only as far as it embraces the principles of Western civilization, including the proper conduct in armed conflicts. So if you really think that being a libertarian and supporting Israel is somehow contradictory, then let me remind you that the only libertarian who will remain relevant in history and remembered by history, namely Javier Milei, he supports Israel, supports Ukraine, supports Taiwan, because he is the man of the West. He supports the Western principles, the principles of enlightenment, the principles of freedom and of free society. If you want to be a real libertarian, not a paleo-libertarian Hoppe Mafia scumbag, you need to embrace these principles or become completely irrelevant. Tell hi.